What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hill Homestead. So on today's video, or this week's video I should say, we had to do some moving around some pigs. There's not as much video, I don't think, but a little pig story time on how we ended up with so many pigs and why we need to move them every now and then, specifically this video, as well as testing out the bad boy tractor. It put it to its biggest test yet, so stick around and find out how it does. As you can see, sometimes show cattle don't want to act like show cattle. They want to act like wild banshees. So they wanted to do a little bit of running around. I'm sure they're in the barn by this point. We'll go make sure. All right, so behind us we have our piglets mixed in with two gilts that are older. They're probably about 10 months old now, that we got not too long ago. The majority of these are Hereford, and our boar that we have in here, Bowser, he is a purebred Hereford boar. So,
and I bottle fed him.
Yeah, a lot of these piglets back here are bottle fed, with the exception of two of them, and as well as the two older gilts. But all the other ones that are in here were bottle fed, and Today we are going to attempt to move Bowser up with 2 of our slaughter hogs. Not because he's being slaughtered, simply because of the fact that he's about 5 months old and he's getting to the age where he is trying to breed these older gilts that we have in here that are coming into heat. Typically we wouldn't worry about that with them being older, but the problem is 2 of those bottle babies are 2 of his sisters, and we do not obviously want any inbreeding going on here, as well as Daisy, the smaller black piglet that we have there. We are also keeping her as a breeding gilt, but she is far too young to be bred right now. So what we have down here is the tractor, and we also have the blue trailer. We're going to drop the pin and drop the back of the blue trailer here, and we're going to attempt to load up Bowser and move him up with the slaughter hogs to hang out until we A, have a better plan, or B, are ready to breed them for another round of piglets. It's recording. Sorry, pig. So that is not exactly how I wanted to do that, but he's too heavy to walk up on that without slipping, because that is nothing but sheet metal. So he would have just stepped up on it and slid all the way back down. So the most effective way was to do that right there. So hopefully he stays back here with babysitter Des and just rides along peacefully, but we will see. And yes, before you comment on anything about us feeding our pigs on the ground, we know that it is pretty wasteful a lot of the times, but we have gone through numerous pans and they just keep breaking them, and the feed ends up on the ground anyway, and they will sit here and they will lick that feed up until it is down to the dirt. They have actually rooted like little craters in our ex-garden area. This is where we usually would do a big garden. And so I'm pretty confident they get a lot of that feed. We are going to get some metal troughs to put in here and throw some rebar in the ground in hopes that that is a more efficient way of feeding them, a more budget-friendly way of feeding them, because these guys back here are getting quite expensive to feed. The bigger that they get, the more that they eat. So it is more times running to the feed mill. So we are trying to just get them as fattened up as possible in order to butcher them or breed them, and so we can, you know, restart this process another time. Got figured out pretty quick that the feed pan is where to go. These guys are excited to have a new friend in here. You're supposed to press that. Stop. Ow, that hurts. All right, so a little bit of explaining on how and why we ended up with so many pigs, which to some it may not be so many pigs. There's 12 as of right now, but let me step in a little bit. So we originally, when we first bought the homestead, we had 3 and they became very expensive. We bought them as piglets, and as they got older, it was my fault. I was overfeeding, therefore the price of feed was sky high. And they were constantly getting out because the electric was in and out, and I did not enjoy them. I had no intentions on getting other ones. But 3 years later, you know, we talked about it. We were out of the meat from those hogs, so we decided to get more. Well, the original plan was just to get a boar and 2 gilts, breed them, and keep a piglet for ourselves and sell the rest. Well, they both were bred. Betty, we had Dino, and we had Pebbles. For those of you who aren't aware, that's the Flintstones. And so we had 3. Betty laid down to have piglets. She did an amazing job. Des was there with her. Paul came over and helped out a little bit, did what he could while I was at work, but Des was helping her. She didn't move. She was amazing. She rooted around before laying down, never had any issues with killing any piglets. I think she laid on 1 out of the 9. She had 9. But then there was Pebbles, and I think Pebbles was about a week to 2 weeks late on having her piglets, and they continued to grow inside of her. Well, we had to help her pull one, and she had the second one on her own, but after that no more would pass. Her labor stalled. She was in labor for 36 hours before we'd finally decided to go ahead and harvest Pebbles. She still had 4 inside of her. They were huge piglets. There was nothing that we could have done. No vets. We couldn't get a hold of any vets to come out and help us. So we decided to do the very difficult thing of going ahead and harvesting one of our breeding hogs, and she filled our freezer. And Des can fill you in on what was to follow.
So we reached out to multiple family friends, neighboring farmers, anybody was trying to help us. A good family friend, neighboring farmer, he raises hogs, and he had just recently had a hog go into labor and had a uterine prolapse. So she could not pass any more of her piglets as well. He also could not get a hold of a vet. So him and his wife were bottle feeding these piglets. There were 6, I think. And asked if, since I had just lost Pebbles and all of her babies, if I would be interested in taking the bottle babies off of his hands. You know, I'm a teacher, so I have my summers off, and I normally spend it doing homesteading things, and this was just an added thing. So I was really excited. I said, let me talk to Austin. I did not talk to Austin. I then said yes. That's a trend here. So at first they had to be fed every 4 to 5 hours. Then we were able to up it to 6. Then we went to 8.
And that was only because he had done the hard work of waking up every hour to every 2 hours and feeding them up until this point.
Yes, he had already had their colostrum. They were about 3 to 4 weeks old whenever we got them. So he had already started the process of that. So whenever they came here, we started bottle feeding them. There were a lot of times where, you know, we had to do a lot of midnight feedings. So that was kind of hard, especially during fair week, whenever we had, all of us were down at the fair with the cows. Then I say we, but Austin and Colby castrated and made the males barrows. So 2 of those barrows are down there. I'm really bad at getting attached to animals, so I made a deal with Austin on if I could keep one of them. Right out the gate, Bowser was the biggest. He was really, really friendly too. So I decided that we could keep Bowser and keep him a boar, because I wanted to keep Daisy from Betty's litter, but obviously she could not be bred back to our boar Dino because that was her dad. So we decided to keep Bowser as a pure Hereford boar. He has the cutest little ears. He does this, he talks a lot to you. He's real cute and friendly. So that was why I was able to keep Bowser, because I got very attached to him and we decided to keep him. One of the biggest things though is, and it's been preached to me a lot, is make sure your boars, you always respect them. They are a very large and strong and powerful animal. The good news for us is that we've been really blessed with Dino. He's very friendly and we've spent a lot of time with him. But even for Dino, whenever the gilts and sows go in with Dino, especially when they're in heat, I do not go in there with him. We talk and love from the outside of the fence, or by myself. You don't want to really go in there by yourself. Same thing with Bowser. Even though he's bottle fed, you would think that he would never ever hurt me, because he sees me kind of as mom. But that's another thing, is because he's a bottle baby, he doesn't really have a whole lot of fear of humans at all. So he tends not to fear me or Austin at all. So just a little tidbit of extra information.
She flew up to roost. Wow.
This is one of our classroom chicks. I hatched her out in my classroom over in March, middle of March. So if any of my students are watching, this is one that we hatched out ourselves in my classroom. That's the kids' favorite project every year.
And in reference to my comment earlier about feed pans, he got in this thing minutes after being put in this pen and has already broken this hog feeder. Now, is it made for hogs? Absolutely not. But it was like $12. So that's why we use these pans. So as I mentioned in previous videos, the daylight savings time, you know, it falling back an hour. It is right now 5:23, and while it may not look like that on the camera because I have the sun to your back, it is already getting pretty dark, and by 6 o'clock it'll be pitch black out here. So our routines are changing immensely. There's not very much time to work these guys back here and even get them bathed. So we typically have one option to do in the evening, and we prioritize that, and however long that takes, whether that takes us until dark and that's the only thing we get done, then so be it. Then that's, you know, one less thing we have to do tomorrow. But talking through it with Des, we have a lot to show you guys, and a lot more content to come. There will be more in this video, but you will see a lot of changing of clothes and, you know, different days and times throughout this video.
I'm using this brush right here. It helps a lot of knocking that extra poop and dirt off of their legs, especially. It's one of my favorite brushes to use whenever we wash them and on wash days. Alright guys, so these two have been enjoying some field time since our last show. This is Ash, she's my heifer. Behind her there, the smoky one, that one's Libby. So those two have been enjoying a lot of field time here recently, getting a lot of exercise out, getting some grass. We still pull them in and work them at least every other day. However, this weekend with us being out of town, it was only Taryn here by herself, so she kept working her steer while because these two were out in the field. So they really need a bath. So we're hoping that we can milk a little bit out of this daylight and get them sprayed down and get them cleaned up a little bit.
All right, so it's been a very quick week, I feel like. It is already Thursday, and today after work we just ran into town, had an appointment, and now I am headed over to Sunny, which is her other grandfather's farm, to pick up some hay. It is officially hay season, to where we've got to start supplementing our cows with some hay and feeding them a little bit of that for some foraging, so it keeps their stomach and their digestive tracts right. So I'm gonna head over there, hop on the skid loader, and load up the little blue trailer, try to fit 2 on there, and maybe throw 1 in the back of my pickup. And we'll see if that tractor that we've got there at the house can handle these big hay bales. So stay tuned and we'll see. All right, so we're gonna be using the Bobcat, and we're gonna take some of these hay bales they've got that wouldn't fit in the barn, and see if we can fit them on there. Now, it'll probably give it a pretty good squat. I might put them on sideways so they'll fit, and then see if I can throw 1 in the back of the truck too. So we'll see what happens. All right, so I got them loaded up. I did video it, but didn't realize till I went back and watched the video that the camera somehow got flipped to the other way, and all that videoed was a hay bale. Anyhow, got these 2 loaded on. They're not pretty being loaded, obviously, but the sideboards will keep it up, and we've got 1 in the back of the truck. Some might say that's a horrible way to load that, because it's a possibility of knocking out my back glass. Joke's on you, I've already done it before and haven't fixed it, so it's fine. All it did was knock out the middle sliding glass, so no big deal there. A little bit of glue, be good as new. So we're gonna get this to the house, and hopefully this time I'll actually video myself unloading it, since I missed loading it. Now, I will tell you that if the tractor does not have enough rear end behind it to lift those hay bales up, then that's okay, because if you recall, I went the last 1.5 years without equipment, but we have had cattle in that 1.5 years time. So what I'll do is I'll just push them off, and I will manhandle, roll them to wherever they need to be, and then I will unhook the trailer, and I will push the next one off of the back of the truck inside the barn. I'll just back my truck right into the barn and push it off. But first, we're gonna definitely see if that tractor will work. All right, so it's the next morning. I really wanted to try to film this last night, but it got dark on me way too fast, and I knew it wasn't supposed to rain last night, so I just left it on the truck. But it's starting to rain right now, and I have to start my trip to Michigan in about 30 minutes. So I'm gonna warm up the tractor here and see if we can get these bales off this truck. All right, so it did it. I don't know if you guys can see the back half of that video, but on my way down, I took it down a little too fast. And when I stopped, my back end of my tractor was sitting straight up in the air. And if it, weren't for that hay bale, I probably would have flipped the tractor forward, but that's what the loader bucket's for. It would have stopped me anyway. But I'm very impressed right now. That is exactly what I needed that tractor to do. That is the heaviest thing that I needed to lift, is a hay bale. Be able to get it up out of a truck, get it up off of a trailer. That was perfect. So I'm very happy right now. So the next order of operations is getting it into this barn with these 4 girls without them getting out. They're very excited for this hay. I'm gonna get it in here, cut the twine, and throw a hay bale ring around it so they don't scratch on it and waste the whole thing. And I guess that's a good thing about having tame calves. And I knew she wasn't gonna go anywhere. I tried to keep her in. I wasn't too worried about her when she did get out though. But I don't know if you guys saw it sitting over there. I doubt you did. But when I got off of the tractor, just my weight alone, which I'm not light by any means, but my weight alone, that back tractor wheel popped right up in the air. And it's the back left one. It's never the back right one. And I'm not sure why. But it doesn't flip, which is the only thing that matters to me, really. I still definitely want some counterweights back there because I definitely still don't like that uneasy and unbalanced feeling. So we'll get that fixed in time to come. All right, so I've got about 10 minutes before I have to leave for Michigan. I am riding with my boss, so I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna unhook this trailer, and we're gonna leave the truck here for Desiree in case she would need it for anything, having to run to get emergency feed or anything like that. But that tractor, I am ecstatic about. That is the biggest thing that I needed that tractor for, was to be able to move hay bales around while that back end does lift up. You know, it is what it is, but it's functional enough and strong enough to move it from point A to point B. We're not taking those hay bales far. All of our calves are gonna be up here. We're probably gonna even move some pigs up here in the barn if we can fit them. So everybody has shelter for the winter. But right now I'm pretty pumped. So it is currently 7:07 now in the morning, and I had to get out and get that stuff out before it started raining. So got a couple minutes, gonna tidy some things up. But if you see any more video from this point on, it is all Desiree. So if she doesn't video anything, then I'm here to tell you thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you've enjoyed this video as well as the videos to come. If you haven't already, you know, click some past videos and take a look at those. Hopefully we've gotten better since those. But again, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Please come back. We really enjoy having you here. So we'll see you next time.
A few moments later.
All right, guys, so after Austin left this morning, we had a minor issue. Taryn and I were getting ready for the day, and Taryn was eating a bowl of cereal at the kitchen table. She looked up, and our 4 heifers were out in the front yard. They were actually eating on my flowers on the flower bed. Apparently, when Austin put in the hay ring to go over the hay bale, he forgot to close the gate back up. So this is what we walked into.